one. Panel, ladies and gentlemen, any movement is more than just the sum of its parts, and even more so, more important than the very people who represent them. This is a value judgment debate about the interest of the Philippine gay community to be able to preserve the traction we've already made and glue together an otherwise complicated, fragmented, and polarized movement. We live in a complicated socio-political landscape wherein we have gay individuals of all different walks of life, culture, identity, and beliefs. The point in which Marina Summers becomes at the forefront of the Philippine gay community reduces the breadth of the movement and ultimately narrows down its focus. It's going to be something unstrategic for the movement, bad for her reputation, and bad for all gays everywhere. We recognize drag is cool and important. But ladies and gentlemen, especially in the Philippine setting, not all gay individuals adhere to drag. Some are more conservative, some are less radical, some are less flamboyant, and the point in which Marina becomes a face of the movement is more likely than not to create infighting within the movement, which is what we're seeing already. Despite the success that she has garnered, you have a lot of people also saying about how she does not necessarily represent their own values, and as a consequence, there's a lot of flack on social media and even in events. This is parallel, ladies and gentlemen, to what we saw with the backlash against Vice Ganda years back about her being the face of the movement, or even Pura Luca Vega, in as much as liberal, left-leaning individuals were so charged by Pura Luca Vega, you also angered and endangered a lot of gays who were part of the conservative movement who were offended with their particular stances and radical ideologies against religion. Marina Summers is an interesting individual. This is nothing against her. This is nothing against drag. This is purely about strategy, ladies and gentlemen. And we tell you from opening government, Marina is not representative of the average Philippine gay individual. 3 structural reasons which I'll elaborate more in my substantive. The first is, as the info slide says, she is already accepted. So, it doesn't become a realistic rallying point since many gay individuals, even close friends of mine, remain in the closet because their family, for instance, does not accept them. Just like what we see in status quo, there's a lot of backlash against her when she gives certain speeches because people are not able to relate because to a large extent, she was lucky to have a family who loves her and supports her. I don't think many Filipinos, especially in religious conservative individuals, can take that. Please mute yourself, observer. The second structural reason is she has a formalized education. She had the privilege to go to college or university. Not many Filipinos are able to have that opportunity. And as a consequence, yes, it's inspiring, but also very intimidating, ladies and gentlemen. Sobrang galing niya magsalita ng English. To a large extent, people find that out of reach. And the third is, she's from the middle class, wherein maybe majority of people are in the lower socio-economic classes and in the lower C and D, maybe even E. And these are the very people who we need to cater to the most in order to feel the most protected. Now, side opposition might say, Joseph, so who is your face of the movement? My answer is very simple. We're taking a wide burden for the best possible debate, and we tell you, inspiration is subjective. What is empowering to one individual might be offensive to another. Who will be at the forefront of the movement, we believe? Juan de la Cruz, an average of the Philippine gay individual. Just a side note example, if you guys ever traveled along EDSA to be able to see the advertisements of Angkas, they're able to highlight people from all walks of life, even someone with a master's, even someone who is Indian, even someone who is not a Filipino but working and residing in the Philippines. Ladies and gentlemen, in the spirit of Pride Month, I celebrate Juan de la Cruz. The whole is greater than the sum of its parts, and every Filipino individual should have a chance to feel connected, should have a chance to be able to be part of the movement without Marina, or anyone for that matter, having to speak on their behalf, to able to present themselves on their behalf. Marina Summers, being at the forefront of the Philippine gay community, at best is tokenistic, ladies and gentlemen, but at worst is going to be fragmented given the harms that I've already said. There are two impacts here, ladies and gentlemen. The first is you offend the conservative majority. Yes, you heard that right. Debateland is largely left-leaning and liberal. But we live in a very conservative society with the dominance of the Catholic Church, whether we like it or not. That's why divorce is something that it's actually very difficult to be able to go against. So, the point in which we need to be able to allow people to feel safe, ladies and gentlemen, to be comfortable in their own skin, and maybe even go out of the closet without feeling intimidated, without fearing their life is at risk, is a point in which we cannot put someone who is already successful by virtue of her own circumstance. It's so easy for them to say, be very empowering, etc. But at a point in which it goes against your religion, at the point in which it goes against what your parents tell you and what you believe in, we don't want this perverse incentive structure wherein they can get all sorts of vague advice and put themselves at a position of danger, put themselves at a position of not being too strategic. The second harm is that you offend minorities, like I mentioned earlier in my pre-oration, who don't adhere to drag and the values that she agrees with. Again, this debate is not about whether or not she is good or bad. It's not about whether or not drag is good or bad, but it's about strategy. And we think she is a very poor and unstrategic choice given the reasons I've already told you. So, if you want to really celebrate proper Pride Month in the best way, go with Juan de la Cruz, an average of all Filipino gay individuals, a chance for everyone to feel a part. We are very proud to propose.